What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the DC Sports Huddle. It is, as always, brought to you by our friends at MGM National Harbor. For the latest in Washington sports, visit MGM National Harbor and experience a sports fan's paradise. I am Rob Woodfork here alongside George Wallace and Dave Preston. And I don't know if you heard, but finally the tree is down at Dave's place, George. Breaking news. If we want to send a WTOP alert.
I thought we wait till after the Super Bowl.
No, it's usually the week between the championship game and the Super Bowl. So it's a tradition unlike any other.
I didn't get my Evite. Did you get your Evite, Rob?
No, I very seldom get Evites, but I also blocked Dave Preston's email, so that might have something to do with it.
Fair point.
We have Super Bowl 57 coming up. It is a historic game for a number of reasons, which we will delve into here. We'll talk about some of our favorite storylines in this is a great statistic, the most evenly matched Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls, because the Chiefs and Eagles enter this game with identical 16-3 records. They both scored 546 points on the year. They have a Kelsey brother and their quarterback among 6 All-Pros, each team with the exact same thing. And they're both the 1 seed in their respective conferences. It's been years since we've had the 1 seeds advance to the Super Bowl in the same season. So this is a great matchup on paper, but on the field, Dave Preston, what are you looking for?
I like the Kansas City Chiefs because they have the more experienced coach, they have the more experienced quarterback, and fortune does favor those who have been there before. Now, we've seen first-time Super Bowl teams go in and beat teams that have won the championship just a couple of years prior. So, stranger things have happened. I just like what Kansas City does offensively. Patrick Mahomes has had 2 weeks to let that ankle heal. Chiefs ended the regular season first in the NFL in scoring, first in total yards, first in passing and passing efficiency. Now everyone says, watch out for the Philly pass rush. Well, yes, Philly had 70 sacks, and that's the most in the NFL. But who was number 2? Kansas City with 55. So the Chiefs can get after the passer as well.
And also, this is a one-game situation.
Right.
I mean, to have a great season, obviously, the first example I go to, and it's going to pain Dave to hear this again, the undefeated Patriots season. I mean, they were a juggernaut for the first 18 games they played, and then they get to the Super Bowl, and what was in the regular season a mediocre Giants team kind of controlled that game, even though it was a close game. They had control of it for much of it. George Wallace, what are you looking for in Super Bowl 57?
Same thing.
Just love that. Okay, we're done. We're done.
Here's an interesting fact, though. The designated home team is 23-33 in Super Bowls. They've lost 12 of the last 16.
And
the Eagles are the home team. So there's something magical about wearing the white jerseys, even though it's not unique to which jersey you're wearing per se. But fortune favors those who are the quote-unquote road team.
The team in white apparently has won 36 of 56 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
and 15 of the last 18. Put that in your hat.
Yeah, so that's all. Kansas City's way.
I'm leaning towards Kansas City as well. I think third time being there. I think obviously a couple years ago did not end the way Mahomes and that squad wanted to. They had a chip on their shoulder to get back. Lost last year. I mean, I just think that they know what it takes to get there and get it done. Now, it's not saying that rookies can't get it done. We saw Sean McVay do it last year. That's fine. I get it. And anything can happen, but I just say, Andy Reid against Nick Sirianni. Sirianni's a guy who's just like, he's talking about this chip on his shoulder for being fired by Andy Reid. Give me a break. I mean, come on. You're in the Super Bowl now. But Andy Reid has had some flubs at the end of games. Yes, that is true. But in a big game like that, and it comes down to it, a guy that has been there, I think I give the edge to coach and quarterback in this situation. So I'm leaning towards the Chiefs as well.
And I think Kansas City has more to lose with this game, meaning that
I agree.
If they don't get that second Super Bowl championship, they become the Atlanta Braves of this generation, where they haven't just made 5 straight AFC championship games. They've had home field. They have been easily the best team. If they awarded regular season championships over the last, decade or so, they year in and year out, they've been awesome under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And for them to just have one Super Bowl title to their credit right now, they need another one or two to do themselves justice.
That's not like hanging an attendance banner, right?
No. Or AFC finalist.
Yeah, that's a little different. Look, guys, I have the Chiefs in this game because it's kind of what George was talking about. I mean, the first thing I look at when I try to pick games or predict what's going to happen with any football game or season, who's the coach, who's the quarterback? And in those two areas, even though I think the Philadelphia Eagles have the better roster top to bottom, I think that the Chiefs have the advantage because they have the more experienced coach. They have the more, legendary coach, and they definitely have the better quarterback, even though there is a case to be made for Jalen Hurts as the MVP. But let me, because this came to my mind as you were talking, Dave, let's say Kansas City wins this game, and I think all three of us have picked Kansas City to win this game. They win this game, that's 2 Super Bowl victories in, what is it, a 4-year span, 5-year span? Are we talking dynasty with this team with a win?
I don't think you talk dynasty until you've won that third.
I think you have to have 3. Exactly. I think you have to have 3 in like
you need a third, and it needs to be like back in the day, the Raiders won 3 Super Bowls, but over an 8-year span. So could you call them a dynasty? They had 2 different quarterbacks. Could you do that? That's a sticky thing. I think if they win 3-6 or even 3-7 with the same crew, with Kelsey, with Mahomes, with Reid, with a lot of the same personnel, I think you can call them a dynasty. I know that you guys look at coach and quarterback first and second. I look at, is the team playing at 10 a.m. Body clock time? That's the first thing. Second time, did they play in London last week? And then third, do they play on a Thursday, and are they given an extra 6 hours off thing? So, coach and quarterback are important, but let's be honest. The 10 a.m. thing, is a big thing, and that doesn't play into anything here this weekend.
I'm going to go ahead and say that's not going to be a factor in a Super Bowl that's played at 6:30, give or take.
3:30 out there.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, nobody's body clock will be adversely affected by that. Favorite Super Bowl storyline. The Kelsey brothers, I think, are playing in this game. There may have been some talk about that. My inbox is full of emails from our boss giving us clips and sound bites from the Kelsey brothers podcast. So
they have a podcast?
That is absolutely not my favorite storyline. My favorite storyline, and I think you guys already know, it's the first Super Bowl featuring 2 Black starting quarterbacks. And George Wallace actually just spoke to Doug Williams, which we will touch on in a little bit. But, he's the one who laid the foundation for this. And we talked at length about that in last week's episode. This is a game that, and you talk about the MVP conversation. I mean, Black quarterbacks are at the front of it. Jalen Hurts is at the front of it. Patrick Mahomes is at the front of it. And we talked about this last week, that Doug Williams, the importance of that game was not just that he was the first Black quarterback to start in a game. He played lights out. He was the MVP of the game. He might have been the best player on the field and had to leave the field with a knee injury, came back on and still played well. So you look at these 2 players, they're at the forefront of the MVP conversation. I'm going to go ahead and say that they're both probably going to play well in this game. When I give my game prediction, you'll see why. But I think that both of these guys are going to play well. And I think that you look around the NFL, no matter what your top 10, if you're ranking the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, there's no possible way that you can do that without at least five Black quarterbacks being in that conversation, no matter who your 10 are. So I think that this signals sort of a shift in what a quarterback looks like in the NFL, both in terms of his visage and also in the manner in which he plays. Mobility is more important at the quarterback position than it has been in a long time. And so if I think this is the first, and we should talk about it, but I also believe that it's going to be the impetus for more Super Bowls featuring two black quarterbacks. Because, I mean, look at it, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields. These are guys who are kind of at that next tier, maybe below these two guys. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we're going to see those guys in the Super Bowl in the not too distant future. So I think that's an important storyline. I'm glad that it's getting the attention that it is. Jalen Hurts has an all-female management staff too. So his agent, Nicole Lynn, is the first Black woman to represent a player who's in the Super Bowl. So a lot of great, Black history nuggets as the NFL celebrates its Super Bowl in the beginning here of Black History Month. George Wallace, what's your favorite storyline going into the game?
I like that one as well. And it was interesting, Doug, we'll hear a little bit from Doug later in this episode as well, talking about how, I asked, there's 11 starting quarterbacks now, Black starting quarterbacks. I go, where would you like to see more progress being made? And he talked about the coaches and general managers and how these guys are just like he did. He prepared as the quarterback of the Redskins at that time. He wasn't even thinking about it. Was historic. Yes, he understood it, but he's preparing to play and be the best he can on the field. And that's what these guys are doing as well. And he thinks that these guys are going to be able to handle it perfectly because of the way they are and because of just the kind of person that they are, the kind of people that they are. So I like that storyline. I do like the Andy Reid facing his former team, just the fifth coach to face his former team in the Super Bowl. Had a long discussion about this in the newsroom yesterday, about trying to name the five. We got 4 out of the 5. I don't know if you guys want to think about it, maybe come up with it. I know the answer's right up here.
Okay.
But I like that. What do you mean? Okay. You know the answer?
I know that
it probably happened in the 70s, so that's right in Dave's wheelhouse.
Well,
let's see if let's go through this.
I know that one is Dan Reeves.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know that one is Weeb Eubank.
Very good. That's the one I didn't
coached
get.
the Colts before he coached the Jets. Those are the two that jump out at me. Straight from the get go.
Andy Reid's 3, so you got 2. You're missing 2.
Okay. So I need 2 more at this time. Okay.
It's a fun game.
It is a fun
Pardon
game.
me?
It's a fun game. One I didn't even think
game.
about. One you were missing that you should get pretty easily, and one it took a second.
Oh, Shula. No. Shula changed teams, but never faced the Colts, obviously, because they were in the same conference. We can come back to this. I'll just sporadically shout out names throughout the course of the rest of the
okay.
But
I do
like every other episode.
I like the Andy Reid going against his former team. That's a fun storyline as well. The Kelsey thing it's way overdone. That's fine. We get it. That is fun too. I mean, mom.
And the other thing is they're way overemphasizing the mom. Is Ed Kelsey dead? Like, what happened, man? Why?
Because moms bring cookies. That's why.
I guess so, but I mean,
to both players.
As a father, let's have some both parental representation here. Equal time. Come on.
What's kind of disappointing in that whole thing is that yes, no love for the dad. It's like the dad passed away, and it's like no, he's still with us. I'm surprised because there are so many people who are outside of who cover these teams who come out for the Super Bowl. I am shocked that somebody on, ABC, not ABC Sports, but Good Morning America or NBC or something like that, and saying, oh, it's amazing. The poor Kelsey brothers, grew up without a father and their mother's been there. No. Their father's still alive. And this is him right here.
And
I'm surprised we haven't had that gaffe.
And he was on the podcast too. So it's just like, just no love for Papa Kelsey, who I'm sure had a hand in raising these guys just as much as the mom. Dave, what was your favorite storyline? I don't remember if we.
It's kind of twofold right now. We're going to throw Jay Gruden into the mix as one of the guys he coached against the Raiders while with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So John Gruden, actually.
There you go.
John.
That's 4.
Oh, right. Oh man,
not Jay, but John. So that's 3. I need one more.
You need one more.
I need one more. Okay. First, I'm going to get to our point. Roster building and construction of championship teams. You look at how Kansas City has been able to keep this nucleus together over the span of the last, 5, 6, 7 years where they've been cranking out division titles, even changing a quarterback. Alex Smith was the QB for part of this run. And so, Kansas City has a chance to maybe not be a dynasty, but continue to be the model of roster building in the 2020s. And on the other end of the spectrum, Philadelphia, they won a Super Bowl not too long ago, completely blew things up, got rid of this guy, Peterson, Doug Peterson, second most famous Peterson on this program. Don, we love you too. But Doug, so, and to look at, say, a team, maybe one that plays in Landover, trains in Ashburn, uses another area as its official name to say, hey, we're on a 2 or a 3 or a 4-year plan to get things going and build this roster. Here's a team that was in last place just 2 years ago, 4-11-1, mind you, basically tanked the last game of the season, even though you won't hear anyone say that officially, in order to get last place. And within 2 years, they're playing for a championship. That is, you've got a lot of nervous coaches looking around saying,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're right on track. Oh yeah, really. We just did slow and steady wins the race. Not with the Eagles, not with what they've been able to do in 2 years. So I think it's fascinating the way that both of these teams have a chance to win a second Super Bowl in a short period of time, and both have gone about the things in completely different ways.
But also the Eagles didn't, I mean, the cupboard wasn't bare. I mean, they went 4-11 for, I think injuries were a big part of that. And I mean, I don't cover that team as closely, but I remember injuries being a part of that. I remember having your quarterback, Carson Wentz, fall off a cliff virtually inexplicably. So it's just like, some of that is a little flukish, and it's like you walk into that situation and they happen to get a home run with Jalen Hurts in the second round. I thought that was a guy who was a first round talent that should have been selected higher than he was. And I don't know, man. I don't know that I give them full credit for that, because they kind of were, for lack of a better term, they were just kind of born on first base as it pertains to building that team. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, to your point, Dave, I do think it's interesting, because when they signed Patrick Mahomes to that mega deal, I was like, all right, well, there goes their window of Super Bowl contention, because you're not going to be able to keep a lot of key players around him.
Right.
Like, that's a huge cap number. That's going to be an albatross for that team. And quite frankly, it's just more advantageous for you to be in the situation the Philadelphia Eagles are in, where you have a quarterback who's on a rookie contract and you're able to amass a bunch of talent around him so that he doesn't have to go out there and be Superman. But with Mahomes, I mean, they've been, you let go of the cheetah. He goes to Miami, gets a bunch of money, and you take the picks, and then you just keep on chugging along, getting to Super Bowls into the AFC Championship game every year in what is the most difficult conference in the NFL. Right. So, hat tip to them, man.
And that's why, the shtick around here, it's all, you can't use it. I mean, people see through it. I mean, you say this whole 3 to 5 year thing, it's not. I mean, the NFL is not built for that. You see what teams have been able to do quickly. And, for Ron Rivera to keep kind of, that's his spiel. It's just not, that's why people get frustrated, because you can be done. And it's amazing what a quarterback can do for you, isn't it? It just truly is.
Yep.
And this team has just missed on every single one.
They've missed on every single one, while Cam Newton still remains out there.
There we go.
Bold prediction for the game, guys. I'm going to say Chris Jones, who never had a postseason sack in his career until this year, he's going to double his playoff total. He's going to have 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl, 2 of them forcing fumbles recovered by Kansas City to set up scores, and it'll help the Chiefs win 31-27. Do you have a bold prediction, Dave? Because I know that you've always got some crazy stuff.
I think it's, do we count a former assistant coaches like Bill Belichick was an assistant? Okay. Okay. I have 25-13.
25-13 Chiefs.
I had 25-11, but I think they get a late safety. So I think the pass rush gets to Hurts, and that's a surprise. I think the Kansas City pass rush will make some big plays, and we will see a healthy Mahomes be able to do what the magic that he is able to do. And it's going to be a coronation of Patrick Mahomes. He's been the best quarterback in the league for some time, but it's going to get everyone talking in this offseason and through 2023 that, wow, this guy is freaking awesome, and he is at a level, especially when you look at a lot of veteran quarterbacks leaving the game or at the tail end of their careers, Brady retiring, Big Ben retiring recently, Aaron Rodgers, doing whatever it is that he's doing now. I think, it's going to, this new crop of quarterbacks that are reaching their prime, and Patrick Mahomes is exhibit A in what it means to quarterback in the 21st century. He's going to be awesome this year.
All right, George Wallace.
I think so too. And I think, I'm tempted to be one of those last team to have it wins it. Mahomes gets him in position. I think the Chiefs win by 3, but I don't think it's going to be a last second thing. I think the Eagles will score and maybe not get an onside kick. I'm going 31-28 red.
All right. So basically my score, I said 31-27.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're of like mind in so many ways, George. And I think we're of like mind when it comes to the greatest NBA player of all time debate. I know George Wallace has to do a sportscast, but we're going to delve into LeBron James and the amazing night in Los Angeles. We're recording this the day after. So LeBron James, now you got to stop calling him King James. You got to call him Scoring King James, because he's the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. And for years, there's been a debate as to whether he is the greatest player of all time or Michael Jordan. I have resisted this debate to this point for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I don't think it's fair to compare players in different eras and who played different positions. And quite frankly, you kind of have to put down one in order to support the player that you're trying to support. And I've just never wanted to, I don't care for that, because it's just they're both great. They're both singularly great. The other thing is, most of the people who pick LeBron James as the greatest player of all time, or say that he is somebody who's not old enough to have watched Michael Jordan play in his prime.
Right.
I watched Michael Jordan play in his prime. I grew up, I fell in love with the NBA, watching Michael Jordan. In fact, the first basketball I watched in my life, I was a 12-year-old kid, summer of 91, watching Bulls versus Lakers. That is what hooked me on the game of basketball, with the switch in the hand and all this. So y'all can look at the grainy highlights pre-HD and think that you know about Michael Jordan. I watched those games. I watched him, and forget the regular season stuff, the playoffs. When you watch the playoff series, it was a foregone conclusion that if Michael Jordan was on that team, they were going to win. And damn it, if every single time they won. When he had a full season, and I'm throwing out the comeback in the middle of the season, and then they lose to the
throw out the first 6 or 7 years that he was in the league too.
But I mean, once he crossed that threshold, then they were in the finals every year and winning, and they never went to a game 7. So this wasn't lucky 3-pointer fall away in the corner like we saw for at least one of LeBron's. Like, where this was a foregone conclusion every year, and every year was correct. So yes, LeBron has the longevity, and yes, LeBron, certainly has done some things that Michael hasn't. But I mean, even in winning the scoring title, they showed this statistic during the game. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his career had 3 made 3-pointers. LeBron made thousands. So without the benefit of that, and they both played 20 years, it was a different game. It was a different era. They played different positions, and LeBron made in upwards of, I believe it was about 2,000 more free throws than Kareem did. So it's just a completely different era. And, and again, it doesn't detract from his greatness. That's just a fact for context that they got their different ways. So, in this debate, I'm never coming off of, there's nothing. LeBron could score 50,000 points, and I'm still going to say that Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. And it's not to put down LeBron in any way, but it's just to say that the sort of greatness that Michael Jordan exhibited cannot be replicated, and it sort of set LeBron up for the success that he's had on some levels. So, to me, again, it's you don't want to compare them, but if you put a gun to my head and make me choose, I'm going to say Michael Jordan. I'm never going to stop saying Michael Jordan. You're a hoops guy, Dave Preston. What do you think of the debate?
I'm going to say that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the best ever to play the game. I mean, and I say that with seriousness, because when you look at I think what made Jordan such a flashpoint for a lot of people who may have come late to the party was that before Michael Jordan came along, the argument was always Russell or Wilt. And Wilt had the stats, Russell had the championships. Michael was that rare combination of stats versus championships. I think you also look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who did nothing but win in college, back-to-back NCAA championships when you only played 3 years of varsity in college hoops. He won an NBA championship in his second year after being drafted by, one of the worst teams in the league. So it wasn't as though they put a ton of guys around him. Kareem wanted his second year in the league, wanted his second to last season in the league in 1988. Granted, the Lakers were a fantastic team. Jerry West, probably, in my opinion, the best general manager in the history of the game with everything that he had done over the years for the Lakers, put together an incredible roster. Some of it was luck. Some of it, though, was finding the right guys. But you look at Kareem, who won a championship in 71, won a championship in 80, won a championship in 82, 85, 86, or 87, and 88. Completely different NBAs from 1971 to 1988. Jordan, you could make the case that he won his championships 91 through 98. It was pretty much the same league, and there are those who say that expansion watered things down in the latter era. I'm not gonna, you play with what you've got. I think if he hadn't have taken those 2 years off, though, in the middle, they wouldn't have won 3 on the back end, because they were very drained. That team that won it all in 93, they weren't even the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. It took a couple of Charles Smith misses to get them past the Knicks in the championship series for the Eastern Conference. So I think if he comes back for a 4th or a 5th year, I don't think they win after 4 or after 3. And I think those 2 years off gave him the necessary juice to win 4 playoff rounds back-to-back years. And I think it also gave the Bulls a chance to really quietly reboot while still trying to maximize the roster that they had. So instead of Paxson, you had Kerr. Instead of Grant, you had Rodman. Things were changed a little bit, but you still had, Jordan and Pippen dominating on those teams. I think that LeBron James is the best player of the 21st century. And I'm more than fine to leave it like that, because you could, for all, and I'm a Russell guy, in my heart of hearts, as far as what he meant to that franchise, 11 championships in 13 years. The 2 years that he lost was to one of a 67 or a 68 win Sixer team with Wilt. And the other one was one where he sprained an ankle in the finals against the St. Louis Hawks, as it were. But Bill Russell being able to win on, running on fumes in 1969 with a 48-win Celtics team and beating a Lakers team that had Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, and Wilt Chamberlain, arguably the 3 best players at their respective positions, to be able to, and as player coach too, for those last 2 championships. That's one of the reasons why Wilt is my favorite also, Bill is my favorite also. Growing up an hour north of Boston, you grow to appreciate him and his style of play, and just his presence off the court, and his role in the civil rights era, and his role standing up for Muhammad Ali and others. And that's where I think Kareem, as a very young man, he was still Lou Alcindor when he was sitting at the same table as Muhammad Ali, who refused his draft induction. Whereas you look at Michael Jordan, who, hey, Republicans buy shoes too. And granted, he's made a ton of money, but that's where everyone has to make their own decisions.
And that's the thing is, when you're talking about just we're just talking about the on court, because obviously off the court, LeBron has had way more impact than Michael Jordan in terms of what he means as a socially conscious voice. He's the first billionaire to be, as an active player. So
he's the guy who I want to be the owner of the Commanders.
Hey, how about that?
I brought that up first, right here on the Huddle.
Yes, you did.
So, I think, I just can't in my heart of hearts say that, I think Kareem was greater over a greater period of time.
And that's the thing,
leave it at
longevity
that.
factors into it, but if the concentration of greatness that
Right.
Michael Jordan had over the course of his career, and I know he retired 3 times and all of that, fine, but LeBron's longevity, yes, it is remarkable and it deserves all the credit in the world. But I mean, again, when you talk about the high concentration of greatness, I mean, LeBron lost almost as many finals as Michael Jordan won. So George Wallace in this debate, that again, I prefaced by saying I don't super love this debate because it's sort of comparing apples and oranges. But just real quick, what between Michael and LeBron, or if you do have another guy who you think is the greatest NBA player of all time.
I mean, real quick, he just spoke for 6 minutes.
He did just speak for 6 minutes. There's going to be a heavy process.
No, I'm an MJ guy. Look, I believe in, and it's not the points. It's the overall thing. So as a competitor,
yeah,
MJ lost to the Pistons so many times. You had to beat your foe to get to the top. He didn't run from that. Did lose the finals. The Eastern Conference championships. Just for me, a guy that was there, like that was able to get it done in the clutch, night in, night out, playoff series after playoff series. And yes, I mean, the NBA is different. You were talking about different, the way the league was different. And yeah, I mean, LeBron is a massive human being. Like, he is a spectacle. Yes. But the NBA, those guys got their ass beat all the time. and it was just, I know you say now, okay, LeBron would have been fine in that league because of the way he's built. I get that. But to go through all that and then Jordan stay with one team, you had to take down the Pistons, you beat the Knicks, like those guys, for me, that's what makes MJ me more of an MJ guy as far as the greatest.
Right.
Pete Carroll.
Right.
Yes, you got it. Very good.
There it is. You
got it.
Took them the whole show to do it too.
Look at you.
As a matter of fact, I mean, that's a great way to close the show. But Dave wanted to touch on the Capitals before we close.
Huge. They come back from the All-Star break this Saturday, guys. They're at Boston, who happens to have the best record, not just in their division, but in the entire league. They then play 6 of 7 at home, but 6 of their next 9 games will be against contenders. You hate to keep on saying that there's a crucial stretch ahead, but where they're hanging on to one of the wild card spots, 4th place in the Metro Division, and they've played more games than everyone else. So they need to keep that cushion. And with an older team, it's going to be a major challenge coming up. So there's a lot of big games, couple against Carolina, who leads the Metro, and a lot against a few other contenders too. So to repeat myself again, another crucial stretch ahead for the Capitals beginning Saturday.
If I got $1 for every time we heard that.
Yeah.
Right.
This was a fun edition, guys. Nostalgic and prescient in some ways. But the DC Sports Huddle, as always, brought to you by MGM National Harbor. For the latest in Washington sports, visit MGM National Harbor and experience a sports fan's paradise. I am Rob Woodfork signing off alongside George Wallace and Dave Preston. We will break the huddle and bring it back next week.